You know that feeling when you meet someone for the first time, and even after just 5 minutes, you know that you're going to be lifelong friends? I used to think that it was about the common interest. But the older I get, the more I realize it has to do with the frequency we hold. And when you share the same frequency with someone, it often means that you both walk through life, made some mistakes, and grow from them. And that shared experience brings resilience, wisdom, and grounded presence. And today's conversation with Jenny is exactly that, grounded. We explore what it truly means to be authentic to ourselves and to others, what it means to embrace who we really are, and to hold our soft power close to our heart. I can't wait for you to join us. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Soft Power Project, a podcast that journals the story of women as they navigate their own transformations. I'm Sherry, a certified coach and your host. In my mid-30s, I made the bold decision to reinvent my life. Now in my 40s, I'm sharing that journey along with the stories of women who inspire me. Like you, we're embracing growth to become our highest selves. Let's celebrate the power of self-exploration, one story at a time. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Soft Power Project, a podcast that journals the story of women as they navigate their own transformation. And today we have an amazing guest. I'm so excited. She's someone that I would describe, she's beautifully and authentically warm. And she has the ability to raise you up and make you feel like the best version of yourself. Thank you, Jenny. Hi.
Hi. That is the nicest thing. So kind of you to say all that. Thank you so much.
That's the truth. Every time I talk to you, I just feel so loved and so safe afterwards. And I really hope that the audience can feel that way today.
Oh, wow. Well, you are absolutely lovely. I always enjoy talking to you. You have a great smile and this just warm and inviting presence about you. I think that's definitely your superpower. And thank you for letting me to be in your presence.
Thank you.
It's
That's
really
it for
amazing.
today. That's all I need.
Right? Sometimes it doesn't take much
No.
to just brighten our day, huh? Yeah. I get it. I get it.
But today, I want to know more about you because you have an amazing career path. I mean, I feel like you still are a professional journalist. You started by being a journalist for Taipei Times and then Wall Street Journal. And that was about what, 8 years-ish?
My journalism career probably was more than 10 years, but 7 of the 10 was with the Wall Street Journal, separately in Taiwan and in Hong Kong.
Wow. Yeah. So if you go onto her LinkedIn, which I'll leave the link here, you can see, and I have looked at a lot of the footage that she was interviewed in. She was on BBC, right?
Right. I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she went on to be the global PR manager for Alibaba, especially during the time when they went IPO.
That's right. That's right. It was 2018 in Hong Kong.
Right. And now she's a business owner, branding consultant, angel investor. She's everything.
You know, my favorite hat of all the things that you just mentioned, well, actually, what you didn't mention is I'm a proud mom of a cat and a dog. I don't have any human kids, but I am so proud of my fur kids. So that's probably my favorite hat to wear.
Aww.
And thank you for allowing my cat to be part of the podcast today. Audience, I know you can't see her, but she's sitting right here with us, listening attentively.
Yeah, and also the beautiful Nyo-Nyo
Yes.
in the background sleeping. So tired from the walk from today. Yeah, so we're actually at Jenny's beautiful home and we have it all set up. So it's a very, very cozy atmosphere right now. And speaking of, we were talking about how for me, Jenny is someone that embodies the word authenticity. And the word authenticity, I think this got thrown around a lot, especially these days in this world with so much uncertainties, right? Every day is different. You don't know what's going to come, right? Every day. And I just kind of want to open up with this kind of a difficult question, maybe an easy question for you, but how do you define authenticity?
That is a very, very good question and a big question. I think authenticity is something that we as adults return to. All the babies, little kids, they don't know how to be anything but authentic. And it's life experience, trauma, sadness, disappointment that sort of shape us into something less authentic. And I think the definition of authentic is the lack of need to seek for approval. I mean, if you look at babies, if you look at toddlers, even if you look at elementary school kids, they are very themselves. It's corresponding face, corresponding emotion, corresponding action. Sad, cry. Hungry, cry. Happy, laugh. And I think as adults, we have to, or we think we have to fit into the societal norms. So we hide our emotions, or we say things that we don't really mean, or we do things just to please others. I think when you are able to be so in love with yourself that you don't need external validation, that's when authenticity comes through. It's not being perfect.
Right.
It's having that power to present yourself in the way that you're most comfortable with.
Right.
So I think that's it. It's the nonchalance for external validation or approval.
Right. I love that answer. And when you said it's when you return back to yourself, and that word return back to yourself, I love that. And I wanted to unpack a little bit. Did you have to go through some sort of life journey that take you on a different path and then return back to yourself? And do you remember what was that like for you?
Yeah. Several incidents. The one that stands out the most, and probably the one that had a life-changing effect, was I was living in China working for Alibaba, and I was having a tough time living in China. It's a beautiful country with amazing people, but it was just at that stage of my life that I didn't want to be there. I felt my job was not bringing the best out of me, and I felt I was doing a job for the money, for the title, for the experience, but not really for the internal growth. And I was miserable. I was actually quite miserable. And one day I was walking around the Alibaba campus, which is enormous and just absolutely stunning. And I was walking around and I was listening to a podcast, and the guest, her name is Carolyn Miss. She's a spiritualist, and she was talking to Oprah about betrayal. And she said, the worst kind of betrayal is self-betrayal, because you're actually telling others that it's okay to treat you that way. And at that moment, it was like a light bulb that just went in my head going, Jen, what are you doing? You're living in a country you don't enjoy. You're working a job that you don't feel it's bringing the best out of you. For what? For the admiration of others that you get to work at this huge company, for the paycheck, but to what end? And that got me started to think about, what do I really want and what am I really good at and the priority I have in life. Quickly after that, I resigned and quit and moved back to Taiwan. And I think that turning point was also a huge blessing, because a few weeks after I moved back, the pandemic happened in China. So I was able to ride through the pandemic without the lockdown in China. And I think that was also an opportunity for me to form a greater relationship with the universe and being able to listen to the prompting and trusting that prompting. So for me, that authenticity is like, oh, Jen, your spidey senses is not too bad. You could really trust yourself.
Right.
And I often think back to that experience and take a pause and go, okay, Jen, what is the prompting telling you right now? Trust yourself. And I have to say, I've been a lot more comfortable in my own skin since then.
Right. Now, the prompting that you hear, because for me, I felt like before this whole self-discovery process, the prompting was it's almost silent. And then at some point, I can hear whisper. And at some point, it gets louder and louder and clearer. What is it like for you when it comes to that intuition and that voice that you hear?
Interestingly, several different voices. I know I sound like I'm bipolar or schizophrenic, but I have different voices in my head.
Right.
I have one that's like, come on, Jen, come on, girl, let's do this. You know better than this, and then sometimes it's like, Jen, really? Are you sure this is the right direction for you? And so I don't know which Jen will come out, but I recognize that. And sometimes I have conversations with those voices like, wait, what do you mean this is the right direction? Let's peel this. Let's talk about this. But sometimes the voice comes after I have done something like, see, I told you not to do it, or like, see, you should have taken a pause.
Right.
You shouldn't have reacted so fast.
Right.
So sometimes it's a warning, and sometimes it's like an aftermath assessment,
Right.
But I wasn't. I mean, before I doubted myself so much all the time. In fact, for a long time, I always thought, okay, Jen, never trust yourself because the decision will always be wrong. And for a while, I was probably my worst critic and worst judge because I didn't trust my own instinct. I didn't trust my own intuition. It's a learned behavior for me. And I'm still learning.
Right.
I'm still constantly reassessing and constantly taking risk of listening to that intuition. I'm not 100% comfortable yet.
But I think taking that risk, again, the word risk, right? It is about that questioning of ourselves. Do we do the right thing? Are we going to do the right thing? And I think that's really difficult because a lot of times our childhood shape our behavior, our belief. And then I think both of us, we came to a point in our lives where really like enough is enough.
That's right.
We really needed that change and come home to ourselves.
That's right.
And sometimes I wonder about this. Like if I had told my younger self, if someone had told me 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, would I actually listen?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. Oh man, I'm still quite stubborn. But 10 years ago, the younger Jenny was like stubborn times 10. Totally. Very egotistic, very narcissistic, I was always kind and smiley, but in my heart, I was like, who are you to tell me to do this? Like, come on, I could do this. Or everyone failed, but I know I could do it. And then reality bites going. Yeah.
But I think again, like it's the journey that we kind of had to go through.
That's right.
We falled a little bit, then we realized something that we didn't know.
Yeah.
So how do you use that authenticity now to shape your work or even your personal life?
Yeah. Very, very, very good question. Authenticity to me is the foundation of all my relationships, whether it be with my family, my friends, my coworkers, my clients, even the cashier at the grocery store or the doorman. It's a comfortable way, at least for me, it's a very comfortable way to live. And I pull back when I feel someone is not being authentic. It turns me off. It's a red flag So I try not to give that feeling for others.
Right.
But authenticity also means sometimes being very vulnerable and being trusting of how others will receive your authenticity. And I think, again, that's being bold, that's taking that risk. And the risk that being heartbroken, the risk of being disappointed, the risk of being lied to, for me, is nothing compared to the reward that you get from being trusting, from taking that jump, from forging that relationship. I'm not completely naive that people will hurt you or people might have ill intention, but you don't have to be that. You don't have to add to that problem. And then when that happens, you kind of just have to say, okay, I learned that, and then I move on. One thing, a repeated mantra that in my head is, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen? Like, okay, I get a little bit black and blue. I get bruised. I have scrapes on my knee. I retrieve to my corner and I nurse myself. I lick my wound. Give me a few days, sometimes a few months, and then I come out. And then that's it. Is all that, is avoiding all that pain worth living an unauthentic life? I don't think so. I don't think so. The pain, in a way, is your nutrient in life, right? You become more empathetic. You become a little bit kinder to yourself and to others. And you get to know what are your boundaries and what you're willing to compromise, what you're not willing to compromise.
I think what you just said was so important. And I think that's why it is very difficult to be authentic, is that you have to be vulnerable.
That's right.
You have to be able to, take the risk of getting hurt.
That's right.
And put yourself out there. Because, look at the society this day. I think there's a statistic that the quote unquote situationships is on a high. There's so many of those.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think a lot of times, like, you see a lot of friendship or relationship or whatever kind of relationship, it's relationship with a bit of a mask and a facade.
That's right.
But again, are you able to put yourself out there and put your heart out there on the table and go, here it is.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. But it's okay that you hurt me because I can nurse myself back. Now, I don't know if this is going to be too sensitive, but you can stop anytime. But could you walk me through your process of nursing yourself back from heartbreak? Because I do think this is, it's not as sexy to talk about, but it's so important because we all need to go through that, right?
We all go through that. And heartbreak isn't always caused by a romantic interest. A heartbreak could be caused by your family, your friends. So it doesn't have to be in a romantic relationship where you feel let down. Let me start with the most recently. I think I have sort of worked to the point that right now I've learned not to have so much expectations anymore. Is to not expecting my action to receive an equal or greater reaction, to just let my action be and let it be received how it's received, and having that confidence in my heart that I did my best, I gave my best, and the rest is not up to me. So therefore, why am I wasting my brain cells and energy trying to control or imagine, ruminate how my actions will be received? I can't control that. So why bother? But my goodness, I had to work my way to this point from, just get really, really angry, get really, really, really sad, talk to all my friends about it, and just let it out. But none of that worked as well as from the beginning not to have that expectation. Difficult. Oh my gosh. I still feel the same way. I still have, I catch myself having an expectation. But I think now that I'm a little bit older, I can be more aware of when I'm placing my own demand on the person. When you are expecting how the person should react to your action, you're actually not respecting their free agency. You're actually, in a way, being very egotistic, saying, let me tell you how you should react to me. Well, actually, the person has their own power and their own agency to take it or leave it. And who are you to dictate how they're supposed to react to you? And having said that, on my this authentic journey, I've found most people like to be authentic. Most people are not out there to get you or out there to break your heart. Most of them really love having that really decent, down-to-earth, kind interaction. And when you can extend that olive branch first, usually the feedback is just as lovely, if not more. So I think it's whatever kind of energy you give out, you attract the energy back. So all of a sudden, I feel like the people in my life, whether immediate or the peripheral, sorry to throw a profanity out there, but I feel like I have less assholes in my life. I have lovely, amazing, wonderful, incredible, loving people in my life all the time now. And I think it has a lot to do with what you give out, you receive. And so I'm not so much on the lookout, on the defense of liars and cheaters, and they just kind of just filter themselves out.
Ooh, I love that. And I think it's what you said, right? It's about the authenticity, and it's also questioning your own authenticity when you're having interaction with someone. Or am I expecting something back? Am I being authentic? Man, I think that's so hard. I'm still learning that.
There's one word that I think is captures this, is transactional, right? If your relationship is based purely on transactional, then it's very difficult. Then it's difficult to have authenticity. It's difficult to see. Animals teach us how to be authentic. She doesn't care if we're in the middle of a recording. If she's gonna meow, she's gonna meow. We could cut that part.
No, that's totally fine. I'm leaving that in.
So funny. Where was I? If a relationship is very, very transactional, then it's very difficult to forge a lasting relationship. You could forge a lasting transaction.
Yeah.
But it's hard to form a lasting relationship.
Right.
Is there a place in life for transactions? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, right? Then you need to have the sensibility to know when you do the transactional and when you go relationship. I think you need to have that discernment.
Right.
And that's also a skill or that you have to slowly grow into. And I think that you grow into by having a lot of trials and errors.
Aiming to that, because I think for me, I'm still learning, but what you just said, that was so important. I do need to check in with myself, okay, in this relationship, am I expecting anything in return? Or sometimes, I'm expecting some sort of validation. And I know this is not a very genuine interaction then. But what I'm really interested to know is that, you mentioned that we do all kind of had to grow into that stage where we have the discernment, but through a lot of trial and errors. But now we're living our life with less assholes, right? Now, but do you remember the time where you actually had to make the cut? Because again, when we grow more authentic to ourselves, we actually start losing people.
Oh, sure.
Was it a difficult switch, or knowing that, man, I do have to let this relationship go?
Yeah. At the beginning, it was difficult because you always give that person the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But now I've done it a couple of times. It's actually cleansing for my soul and it's not that they're bad. It's just they don't fit.
Right.
That's it. It's just not the appropriate person to be in your life at this moment. Maybe they'll come back later, maybe they won't. But at this moment, at this stage, my life doesn't have room for that person. So I gently usher them out. Because of that, I have quote unquote fired clients before to say, we don't work out, or my style and your style, we just don't jive. And you might be better off with another consultant. And I've done it to friends. I've distanced myself from a few family members for now. Again, I welcome them back. Whenever it becomes more appropriate, whenever there's more compatibility. And making that decision was more difficult at the start, but now it's like, okay, we're just not, it's okay. It's okay. I have way too many people to explore. I have so many other interesting souls that I want to meet. I'm sorry I missed you this time. Well, let's circle back another time, if another time is appropriate. It's okay now.
So what I'm hearing is that it's really putting yourself front and centered, right? Choosing yourself first, no matter what.
Yeah, for sure. I have one of my very, very good friends, Angie Lau. She once said to me, she said, when I'm okay, then you're okay.
Yep.
A lot of times people think it's the other way around. It's like, if you're okay, then I'm okay. If I can take care of all of you, then I'll be okay. But what she said really turned me around to think, no, I need to be okay. So I have enough energy. So I have enough bandwidth to take care of other people. So I have to come first. When I am well taken care of, then I have extra room to take care of others. When I am filling my soul with love, then I have extra love to give you. It's not being selfish, it's self-care. And it's when sometimes that self-care will present itself as isolation. I need to be alone and very, very alone sometimes. Sometimes that self-care is a day in this beauty spa. Sometimes that self-care is a solo vacation. Or sometimes, and however that self-care comes for you, take advantage of it and do it. Because I think for people like you and I, when we don't take care of people around us, we actually feel a little guilty. And then sometimes when we do take care of and it's half-hearted, or it doesn't go as well as we feel guilty again. So to avoid that guilt, let's make sure we're all bundled up before we start sharing our jackets and warmth with other people.
Absolutely. And I do think that women are just programmed to take care of things, right? We're kind of, and I think this is universal. This is not just, has nothing to do with cultural. It's universal. And I had an idea yesterday. I was like, man, women are fantastic project managers in life. That was me before. I was project managing, my ex and my ex-in-law and my parents, and that's a very weird relationship. And also my kids and my kids' friends and the parents. And I'm like, I'm exhausted. I'm constantly managing and hoping everyone is okay, everyone's getting along. But then at the end of the day, it's like, am I okay?
Right, that's right. Are you taking in enough energy? Is your input equal to your output or greater than your output? Because if your output is greater than your input, then you are empty. You're just grinding. Your wheels are just grinding on the ground, and you go nowhere. And nobody goes anywhere when that happens. I think also women, well, I can only speak for myself. I delight in taking care of other people.
Me too.
I love it. And so if I want to do a good job doing something that I really, really love, making other people feel good, making other people feel loved, I cannot shortchange myself. Because then I won't be able to perform in a role that I absolutely love to do. And, lately I banged up my knee a few months ago. And normally the Jenny Hsu before would be like, that's okay, I'll still walk my dog. It's all right. I'll walk every day, 4 times a day, whatever. But now, these past few weeks, I've been able to be like, you know what? I'm going to trouble my friends. I'm going to ask my friends to walk her. I'm going to reach out and say, I need help.
Yeah.
And that's so I could be healthy enough and mentally well enough to do my job as a consultant, be a good for mom, be a good friend to others. And that has a lot to do with being able to allow myself to be vulnerable and ask for help and be taken care of instead of just always being the caretaker. But I do love taking care of people.
Right.
Like, it's funny. I always tell my friends this. I've never waited table before. I've had different summer jobs, but I've never waited table before. But one of my dream job is to be a waitress because I think it's so fun to just talk to random people
you're
and then
gonna be
serve
so
the.
good at it.
I mean, I just feel like to me that would just be really, really fun to interact with random people and ask them, where are you going after this? You know, and being able to share with them my favorite dishes or just strike up a conversation with random strangers. I would love to do that because I delight in taking care of and making other people feel good.
Right.
Yeah.
I think when I was little, I wanted to be a nurse.
Oh, yes.
I love running around having a box of bandage
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, you're hurt?
Yes.
And I'll just put bandage on them, even if they don't really need it.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I love that. But again, growing up and then really understanding you can't drain yourself.
That's right.
And sometimes by doing too much of that, too much of taking care of others, eventually you're kind of hoping that you get something in return from others. And that's really when the whole authenticity, right? That's really when yourself, it's not centered anymore.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think being authentic is also knowing our boundaries, that we need to develop that detector within ourselves to know who is going to take advantage of my caring personality and be able to say, hey, I think we need to have a bit of a distance between us. I think it's really important for people with our overwhelming caring personality to actually be tougher to say no and giving ourselves the permission to say no, not today, not anymore. And knowing that by saying no, it is loving.
Oof. And I think that's absolutely, beautiful. I'm still learning that.
Yeah.
It's all about setting boundaries. But again, sometimes, we talk about setting boundaries, and I used to do this a lot. I would set boundaries. I think I set boundaries, but then I would still do it when they asked me to.
Yeah.
And then I broke my own boundaries.
Yeah, and I think that will happen repeatedly until we get better at it. I think it's a practice, especially for people like us who just absolutely delight in taking care of people. Yeah. That it's a journey. It's a growth. At least for me, it is.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes when you stop being caring, especially when people are expecting you to be caring, they will go, oh, what's happening?
What happened? Yeah.
What happened? And that's really when you can see your true friends.
Yeah.
Or the friends that you need to start saying no to, right?
And I think also that is a perfect opportunity to practice your communication skills, to say, okay, here's the reason why I went a little bit cold. This is why I had to go a bit radio silence.
Yeah.
And having the courage to be authentic in your need to be alone, to say it, to voice it. I think it's also unfair for people to immediately reject others when you feel you're being taken advantage of, because you have to remember, maybe the message that you've been sending is, I'll take care of you. I'll take care of it. Take care of you. So that person is just acting on the message that you've been sending out.
Right.
And if you want to pivot this relationship or tweak this relationship, then you have to send a message is, I still want to take care of you. I'm still here for you, but there's an expiration date. Or there is a line that I have to hold tight to. then the other person's like, okay, message received. And if the message received, they still want to drain you, they still want to work you, they still want you to be on their beck and call, then you have the power to think, do I want to continue this? I find most of the time when you give the message that I need a little space, most people will be like, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Because they love you, because they like being with you.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's having that communication to verbally or through action tell that person, whew, I need a little Jenny time. And that's up to you. It's on your onus to make sure that you voice that message.
Right.
You can't. No one is obligated to read your mind.
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't make assumption.
Exactly.
Right.
No one's obligated to read your mind. No one's obligated to live up your expectation. They don't know what expectations you have of them. But it will be their job to respect your boundary or not after you make it known. And your job is to make it known.
Right. Do you find yourself still had to kind of do this tug of war between how you operate before, how you're operating now?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Every day. I do have two Jennies on my shoulders.
That's such a relief.
Yeah, I absolutely have two Jennies on my shoulders almost all the time. One is, Jen, let's just don't worry. It's okay. Just let it be.
Yeah.
Just, if they want more of your time, just give it. Oh. And then there's the other Jenny. I see her in this like hoop earrings and curly hair and maybe with like brass knuckles. Be like, Jen, come pull back. Come on. It's as small as, when I walk my dog, I have this beautiful white fluffy dog that many people like to pet when I walk her.
She's beautiful.
She's absolutely gorgeous, but sometimes I just want to walk her in silence. And often find myself allowing people to like pet her and answer the questions and let them take photos. But lately I've been just being able to say, sorry, I have no time. And I just keep walking her. And that's like tiny little win in my heart. Like, yay, I was able to say no. Yay, I was able to set boundaries. And I think little wins like that could build up to saying no to clients, saying no to parents, saying no to your loved ones. And again, these no's are not forever no's. It's just not for now no's.
Yeah.
And, but it takes those like little wins to build up to a knee-jerk, immediate awareness to be like,
No, I think what you just said, that knee-jerk immediate, no. Because sometimes it still takes me a bit of a time to figure, damn it, I should have said no.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. It really takes practice. I wasn't born to, like, I think being the youngest child of three and having to take care of, so let me went back a little. We have three kids in the family. I'm the youngest. My sister, who's the oldest, she is mentally handicapped. And when growing up, we've always had to take care of her. But my brother was alleviated from that chore, mainly because he's a boy.
Right.
And a lot of the taking care of fell upon my shoulders. And it wasn't big. It was like making sure that JJ is sitting, is her water, does she have her water? All that. And I remember when I was 9 or 10, we were in the US. We just moved to a new place. And there's a big, huge community pool for our community. And I wanted to go swimming with a bunch of friends from the neighborhood. And I was ready. I had my swimsuit and ready to go. And my mom said, wait. Sorry, you need to come back and help me take care of your sister. And I threw a fit. I was so upset. And I said, I was so upset. I said, Mom, it's your fault that that we have a family member who is mental handicapped. I hate taking care of her. Why me? Why me? Why me? And instead of getting upset with me, she sat me down and said, hey, Jen, well, not Jenny, but Mei Mei, have you ever thought about why you are giving a sister with disability? And I said, yeah, it's because you did something bad. It's karma, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, like all this like very crazy stuff that I don't know where I learned. And she's, again, very gently said, well, you could think of it that way. Or you could think of another way, that God feels you have the ability to take care of someone so special, and that you were born with a big heart, and that you were born with enough love that you could love someone like that. And that helped me change the way I see my sister. That changed the way I see responsibilities.
Yeah.
However, that also, I think, turned me into more of a pleaser than ever.
Right.
So I think for a while, I overcompensated by being that extra loving, extra kind, extra sweet kind of gal. And now I have to correct my course and to become a little, still maintain that, but bring it back to a little bit more. Let's be sweet to Jenny. Let's be kind to Jenny. Let's give time to Jenny. And having the wisdom to live somewhere between the two, instead of always think that I have to give myself 110% to others and leave no percent to myself. But being able to pull it back a little bit. And I'm still pulling, and I'm still, there are times when I still find myself, like you said, like afterwards, like, I should have said no. Why did I go there? Why did I say yes to hosting this party?
Right. Yeah.
And we live and learn. We take the wins, and then we accumulate the wins and try to make bigger ones.
Yeah. When you talk about your story with your mom, that conversation, man, that brought a little tears in my eyes a little.
I saw.
Yeah. I think it's incredible because now you have so much grace. It is tough, and I can feel that in that very moment. It must have been very frustrating, and it must have been really difficult for you to understand what your mom was saying. But also, I think from your mom's point of view, she had a lot of grace.
Yeah,
to
for sure
convey that message that way.
For
I mean, she could have taken so many different paths.
That's right.
But now you have so much grace to reparent yourself.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think I love the word grace that you just used to describe my mom. And she's all that. And you know what? You're right. She could have had very different reactions. She could have said, what are you talking about? This is your sister. And after all that we have done for you, blah, blah, blah. But she didn't. She helped me to see, quote unquote, problems from another lens and saying, hey, have you ever thought about the reason why you're giving this responsibility is someone out there believes that you have the ability to accomplish it and to actually do a very good job. And sometimes I would think back to that conversation when I'm confronted with issues. But I also have to catch myself to think, wait a minute, hold on. This problem is too big for me to handle.
Yeah.
And this problem is something that's not in my control. So therefore, I either leave it or I handle it with the expectation that it might not go well and it will be okay.
Right.
With the expectation of whatever happens, all I have to do is do my best and then let go of the outcome. Let go of the expectation what the outcome will be.
Yeah. Because I mean, life is not black and white.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Because like for you, you could take that parenting or take that message. You can continue to be a people pleaser, but you know that doesn't work for you.
Not anymore.
And you're still able to say, okay, I can reparent myself. I could have a different method of seeing things. But also life is not black and white.
Yep.
And there are so many gray areas. Sometimes you do have to do certain things, but you can have a different intention, a different expectation. But I think that all falls back to when you're so authentic within yourself, it's okay.
That's right. You truly believe that when you do your best, the rest will fall in the right places. And having no expectations, having no assumptions, but having the 100% intention of doing good and being kind and being helpful and being honest. Having that, I should say, living so deliberately that you're not wasting your time wondering what could happen. You're not wondering why is that person not fulfilling what I want them to do. Like living so deliberately that each moment is full of intentions and not ruminating and not sitting back, being confused and wondering and brewing this confusion of, wait, how come they're not respecting my choices? How come they're disrespecting me? How come they're not reacting the way how come they're not being appreciative of what I have done for them? I think a lot of times the frustration is, how come they're not being reciprocal of the kindness I have extended to them? And then you sit there and you brew and brew, and then you like...
And resentment.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. And it's no fun. It's no fun to live in your head. You know, lately I've also learned, actually in the past year, I also learned the difference between what is the real story and what is the story I tell myself.
Oh,
right. You know, a client who decided to ghost me for a couple of months. The story I tell myself is they're being awful people. They're being disrespectful. But the real story is they're probably trying to raise a lot of money, trying to go IPO, trying to hire new people, whatever. So there's the real story and there's the story I tell myself. And now I could catch myself trying to ask at least that question is like, Jen, what you're feeling right now, is that the true story or is that the story you're telling yourself? And that a lot of times alleviates a lot of frustration.
I love that. I think that reminds me of something that I had to learn over and over again, is that nothing is personal.
Yes.
Other people are not spending all that time thinking about how they're hurting you if they wanted to hurt you. They're going through stuff.
Most people that we meet in our life don't spend time in a dark corner twiddling their thumb thinking, how am I going to plot against Sherry? And what am I going to do to make sure I frustrate the heck out of Jenny? Like, you're not that important. People don't think of you that much. They're too busy thinking about their own problems. But we spend so much time thinking what they're thinking of us when the fact they might not even be thinking of you.
What a revelation.
Right? Like, you know, I probably should spend more time on my looks and my hair and my dress. But now I'm thinking, like, sometimes people don't care if you're wearing a black blazer or a brown blazer. Just you wear what you think is comfortable.
100%.
You know, and sometimes people, most of the time, people don't care if your hair is curly or straight today. Just make sure it's not oily and greasy and smelly. That's all. Because people don't think about you that often, you know?
Yeah. Everyone worried about themselves.
Exactly.
Especially nowadays. So much uncertainty. Yeah, I mean, I read a couple of your LinkedIn posts and you talk about the uncertainty, obviously the tariff war, the stock market. How do you handle that? I think what you said was brilliant, which is just take care of yourself.
Yeah.
That's all you that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
now, I don't have any advice on, oh, you should short the stock or you should buy. I know people are buying stock because it's
Exactly.
cheaper.
I have no idea what to do. Yeah.
But again, it's about taking care of yourself
It's right.
mentally, emotionally, physically.
It's right.
Yeah, but I ask every guest this is because I named this podcast Soft Power Project. But what I love to ask is everyone seems to have a different definition, but they're all beautiful. So what's your definition of a soft power?
You know, I've thought about this since you asked me to do this podcast. And I'll say this, I don't have any real visible talents. I cannot play the piano like a concert pianist. I cannot cook like a Michelin star chef. I cannot paint like the next Picasso. I have no outer visible talents that people be like, oh, Jenny is da 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 da. And I think my definition of soft power is those invisible influence that you have on people for the better. It is that the awareness to smile, extra smile, to the awareness to pause and kneel down and pet a dog, to hold the baby a little longer so the mom can have a few more minute break, to compliment someone, even a stranger, on small things that you feel authentically is great. I think that soft power is something that you do sometimes unintentionally, and to bring goodness, to bring warmth, to bring gentleness to the world. You know, it's the whispering, it's the still small voice, and it's the invisible, it's the unseen.
I love that. So soft power is the invisible, the whisper of warmth that you bring to people, but everything needs to come from when you're good yourself, right?
I think when you are good, when you're okay, when you're grounded, when you're centered, then taking care of other would just be the next logical step. But when you are not centered, when you are shaky, it's hard to give out the energy that other people need from you. So then you feel internal frustration, you blame yourself, you feel guilty, all that. And then little by little, you crumble inside. And it's not a fun way to live that way. I've lived it, and never again.
And I think we all lived it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the listeners are listening to this conversation. And again, like we're ever evolving. We're going through life. Life is a journey, right? It's never an ending project. And thank you so much for this beautiful word. I honestly cannot think of a more perfect way to spend my day.
Well, we should just all be a little bit more forgiving of ourselves. Just like, okay, we make a mistake, move on. Yeah. What's the worst that could happen?
Exactly. Again, what you said, from this grounded place, you give the kindness to others. That's right. But let's not forget about ourselves first.
Yeah, in the world of AI, artificial intelligence, I think we need another kind of AI, which is authentic interaction, right? Authentic interaction within ourselves, authentic interaction with the people around us, because our life is being flooded with artificial intelligence. How about some real authentic intelligence?
Absolutely. And I think everyone, including kids these days, generally needs this. And
from the beginning, we talked about authenticity is returning to the child inside you. This is why I absolutely love playing with little kids. I love that they have no filter. I love that they express their emotion outwardly. I love that they don't hold things inside, whether it be grudges or sadness or disappointment. They just let it out. For me, I draw a lot of inspiration from looking at my nephews. I draw a lot of inspiration from my animals too,
Yeah.
because they're not interested in disguising their emotions.
And how many followers your dog has on Instagram?
Oh my goodness. I'll say a lot more than me. A lot more.
And naturally, right?
Naturally, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think all we need to do is to draw some inspiration from kids
Yeah.
and beautiful animals.
Yeah, exactly. You get what you give out, right? And I
Yeah.
think kids and animals, they give out very authentic, welcoming feelings and they invite people in. That's if we could embody that, the world would be a nicer, kinder, more humorous place.
Yeah. You get what you give out.
Yeah.
So thank you so much,
Thank
Jenny.
you.
Thank
I had a great time talking to you.
Me
Thank you
too.
for asking me. You asked very good questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you. The Soft Power Project is produced and hosted by Sherry Fang. For any inquiry, please email us at softpower.u@gmail.com.